Under the sponsorship of the Treasury Department, with Mrs. Roosevelt and Mrs. Morgenthau as chairman, a comprehensive exhibition of paintings from our war fronts starts on a tour of the country. Titled The Army at War, these works were executed both by soldiers and by artists sent to the front by the War Department. The paintings will be shown throughout the country in motion picture theaters. The artist's brush shows America at the front.
No news for New York City as deliverers vote to continue the newspaper strike that began June 30th. The distribution of almost all major New York dailies is halted. Thousands of news-hungry New Yorkers account for a flourishing business at newspaper offices, as copies are sold directly over the counter. Newspapers affected have a combined daily circulation of 5 million, but during the strike, only a small number of copies are being printed to take care of over-the-counter sales. And with no funny papers, children feel the newspaper famine acutely. Over the radio, New York Mayor LaGuardia makes news himself by reading the Sunday comics.
Here's Dick Tracy. Let's see what Dick Tracy is doing. You remember, we hear wet wash. Listen, baby, I know you're a maid at Van Hoosen's. I saw you there last week. And I know there's something phony about that dough. Now, when we get it, it's going to be 50-50. Okay? Then maybe you'd like some more of your laundry torn to pieces. Rip! She's ripping that laundry there, and that little delicate piece of lingerie. Now, get this picture. Here is wet wash. The doors of the laundry wagon are open. He's leaning with his back toward the wagon, and he's counting his money. 2, 3, 4,000. And the picture shows a hand of Breathless stretching out. She's got hold of that iron pot. Remember the iron pot she took from the Van Hoosen's gardener's flat to put the money in? And crash! She crashes it on his head. Knocked out. And say, children, what does it all mean? It means that dirty money never brings any luck. No, dirty money always brings sorrow and sadness and misery and disgrace.
Down New York's Fifth Avenue, 2 wave regiments parade as the city jumps the gun in the 6th War Loan Drive. They're all in step for victory. Further west on Times Square, the Statue of Liberty in miniature tops a giant bond-buying booth sponsored by the Motion Picture War Activities Committee. In a cold wind, cameras grind and all traffic stops as movie showmen take the pledge. They'll back the new campaign to the fullest. In past drives, over 75 million bonds were sold in theaters.
Across the nation, Americans are buying war bonds, backing up our great new drives on Berlin and Tokyo. But here and there are lags in individual e-bond sales. America, full of the goodness of Thanksgiving and looking ahead to Christmas, must not forget those others. Must not forget these 1,800 wounded veterans in Atlanta's Lawson General Hospital, and the thousands more in many such hospitals. For them also, Thanksgiving brought turkey and all the trimmings. But this year, many had to eat Thanksgiving dinner with artificial hands and arms, and did it cheerfully. These are the men who bought for you great European and Pacific victories. They gave in flesh and blood for you a price that cannot be repaid. In their name, buy bonds for Christmas. Isn't your sacrifice easier?
At the Coliseum in Los Angeles, the Trojans trounce UCLA. Scoring in every period, Southern Cal shows great strength on the ground and in the air. Hardy completes a forward to Garland that takes them deep into the Bruins' territory. On the next play, Morris carries the ball right to the UCLA goal line. 90,000 people, the biggest football crowd of the year, watched the Trojans smother the Bruins. Held scoreless until the last quarter, UCLA launches an aerial attack with Dean Witt passing brilliantly. But it comes too late. The Trojans had already clinched their Rose Bowl bid. Scoring early and often, they roll up a 40-13 victory. Speaking of victory, remember the 6th War Loan. Play taps for the Jats. Buy war bonds. The Gridiron Classic of the year, the Army-Navy game, played before 66,639 bond-buying spectators at Baltimore, Maryland. Army Chief of Staff General Marshall is among the dignitaries on hand for the nation's #1 game. The visiting cadets have taken their places in the stands, and here the midshipmen cheer the Corps and the Army respond. In colorful service tradition, the middies give their Navy cheer. After that, mister, let's go. Let's make way for the Navy Goat and the Army Mule. And here's the Annapolis Serenade to the West Point Mule. Over $58 million in war bonds. That speaks for itself. And here's the kickoff for the 45th meeting of the two service teams. Doc Blanchard boots for the Army, and it's taken by Clyde Scott. As he starts up the sidelines, old Smackover is moving fast, but they finally smack him right out of bounds. Here's the play that sends Navy's ace Bob Jenkins to the sidelines for most of the afternoon. Hit hard by Army, he has to be helped from the field. Army's ball, and that's Glenn Davis sweeping the end for a 20-yard gain. Army's speed is terrific. And Army's line opens the way for Dale Hall to score the first cadet TD. The third quarter, and Navy is on the march. Hal Hamburg completes a forward to Scott. Sparking the drive, little Hal carries the ball to the Army 4-yard line before they finally pull him down. Clyde Scott plunges over for the lone Navy tally. Fourth period, and Doc Blanchard runs wild. The last cadet win over Navy was 1938, but this is Army's day. Like 200 pounds of TNT, Blanchard blasts his way over the Navy goal line. Here's a glorious climax to a brilliant football season. Glenn Davis takes the ball from Lombardo, and there's nothing more to say. Watch him go. 23-7, the final for a perfect Army year.
That helicopter was bought with money raised in a bond drive by pages of Congress. And now, at the Capitol in Washington, as the 7th War Loan begins, the flying machine is christened by a page of the Senate and likewise by a page of the House of Representatives. Ready for war service, the Coast Guard helicopter Congressional Page. Two hospital planes dedicated at Washington. Mrs. Truman is the sponsor. The Army plane first, and an astonishing bottle for a christening. Let's try the Navy plane and watch the hammer at lower left of screen.
Now all together for the mighty 7th War Loan. In New York, ceremonies for the unveiling of the Iwo Jima statue, a tribute to the Marines from the motion picture industry. The flag that flew in victory over Mount Suribachi goes up once more. Now, America prepares to back the drive for final victory. $14 billion to finish the war.
Your infantry is coming this way. Your infantry will fight the enemy man to man, seize his ground, annihilate his army, smash his dream of world conquest. Your infantry, your sons and brothers and fathers and the man next door, who fight with the whole army in back of them. Nothing in front but the forces who want to kill them. You'll have a chance to see these men in person in the thrilling battle spectacle. Here is your infantry coming soon to this city. As your infantryman goes, so goes the tide of battle. If he gets forward far enough, we win. If he's forced back, we lose. In the long run, he is our glorious victory or our bitter defeat. Sometimes we call him foot soldier because he fights hard on his own 2 feet. But he gets in there by any means, by truck, tank, skis. He comes from the skies by glider, airplane, parachute. And from the seas by ship and landing craft. War has made him the world's best shot with a rifle, and he's master of a score of other weapons. Machine guns, grenades, mortars, bazookas, flamethrowers, bought with your bonds. This is a moment in the life of your infantry as they storm a Jap fortification in Manila. These men are not giving dollars, they're giving everything. This man's pockets are empty now, forever turned inside out. Now you can see the infantry in action. Veteran combat troops in the fighting flesh, bringing you the fury of battle in the spectacular demonstration. Here is your infantry.
The mighty 7th War Loan is underway, and the 3 survivors of the historic flag raising on Iwo Jima are here at the capital to fly that same flag. With an honor guard at attention, that tattered banner goes aloft once more. This flag and the unforgettable picture of the men who raised it on Mount Suribachi are to be the symbols of this new war loan drive. What better reminder could we have to buy more bonds? Secretary of the Treasury Morgenthau tells us the reasons we should and must.
Today, each and every one of us should dedicate himself anew to the task of doing all in his power to bring this war to complete and final victory. There is no more important way in which Americans can express concretely this determination than by buying more extra bonds in the 7th War Loan.
Here's your grand opportunity to experience one of the greatest thrills of modern warfare, invasion from the air. A live action war show featuring personnel of the Troop Carrier Command and airborne troops of the Army Ground Forces in a stirring real-life demonstration of airborne attack, as executed by our intrepid Yank invasion forces at Corregidor, the Rhine, and in major combat areas throughout this war-torn world. You'll get the thrill of your lifetime as you witness this flesh and blood exhibition of daring. You will see an armada of planes and gliders roaring overhead, paratroopers leaping into space, a sky filled with parachutes carrying courageous fighting men to their target, mammoth gliders racing from the heavens to land and disgorge their lethal cargo of well-trained troops and death-dealing munitions. War in all its shock-filled fury. Airborne Attack, the in-person war show that brings veterans of foreign airborne invasions to your local airport.
President Truman receives a model of photographer Joe Rosenthal's famed picture Flag Raising on Iwo Jima. His report to the nation is a warning to Japan.
There can be no peace in the world until the military power of Japan is destroyed. With the same completeness as was the power of the European dictators. We have no desire or intention to destroy or enslave the Japanese people. But only surrender can prevent the kind of ruin which they have seen come to Germany as a result of continued useless resistance. We are resolute in our determination. We will see the fight through to a complete and victorious finish. To that end, with the help of God, we shall use every ounce of our energy and strength.
We've got another bond to buy. We've got another bond to buy. The bonds we bought before bought the bond that won the war. Now we've got another bond to buy. You may think the war is won, but we can't leave the job half done. The boys have seen it through, now the rest is up to you. Yes, we've got another bond to buy. Bonds away, put your dough where it earns. Bonds away, and someday you'll get so many happy returns. You know with every bond you buy, you've done your part for some brave guy. We got to play it square with the boys we've got out there, so we've got another bond to buy.
We've got another bond to buy.
Go out and buy it.
We've got another bond to buy.
Go out and buy it. The bonds we bought before bought the bond that won the war. Now we've got another bond to buy. Dig in your pocket.
Oh, you may think the war is won.
Ask any soldier.
But we can't leave the job half done.
The Navy will tell you. The boys have seen it through. Now the rest is up to you. Yes, we've got another bond to buy. Bonds away, put your dough where it earns. Bonds away, and someday you'll have so many happy returns. You'll know with every bond you buy, you've done your part for some brave guy. There's Joe and Jim and Jack, and we gotta bring them back. Buy a bond today. We've got another bond to buy.
Washington, Secretary Vinson sells to President Truman the first Roosevelt Memorial Bond, launching the victory loan of World War II toward its $11 billion goal. At Hyde Park, ex-Secretary Morgenthau, Mrs. Roosevelt, and actress Merle Oberon see the second bond go to Lieutenant Colonel Devereaux, Marine hero of Wake Island. Then Miss Oberon and the Colonel turn salesmen. These bonds bring our boys home, provide mustering out pay, money for GI loans, medical care for the injured. At home, they fight inflation, build national security. As Mrs. Roosevelt says,
I'm glad that it does not have to be subscribed for as a war loan, that we can say we are buying the bonds to further the cause of peace.
Let's finish the job. Buy your victory bonds now, right here in this theater. Remember them.
Somebody's going to have a lot of sweeping up to do. Well, now that the war is over, the big job of cleaning up begins. And our bill for cleaning up is going to be pretty big. Because millions of our sons are still in uniform. And some of them, now occupying Germany, must stick around until the last German is educated in the ways of peace. More of our men will have the same job to do in Japan. Others will be brought home to get our gratitude and the benefits of the GI Bill of Rights. These men have rights too. The right to the best medical care and equipment money will buy. Think of the mustering out pay, hundreds of dollars per man, so he can get a new start and an education. Figure too the cost of providing the maximum number of jobs for both the veterans and the production line soldier. Well, they've done their job. Now let's finish ours. They want a war. Now we got to pay for it. And I'm sure that every good American will be glad to help foot the bill. We've never fallen down during any war loan, and now we're asked to buy victory bonds. To bring our men back home, for the termination of war contracts, to prevent inflation, and to provide for our own future. Men and women of the home front army, this victory loan drive is our last chance to buy extra bonds.
Before 63,000 at Philadelphia's Franklin Field, Penn battles Columbia. Gene Rosides of Columbia's undefeated Lions throws his fourth successful pass. Cussereau takes it to the 6-yard line. Here in the first quarter, the team of Rosides to Cussereau does it again. Columbia takes a 7-0 lead over favored Penn. Columbia in possession, but not for long. Len Will fumbles. Savitsky recovers for Penn on the Lions' 37-yard line. Now the Quakers swing into action. Bob Evans wings a pass to Sponogel, who gets within 5 yards of the Columbia goal. Another Evans pass, this time to Jenkins, and Penn has 6 to Columbia's 7. Columbia's Holnack tries to punt, but it's blocked by Jenkins of Penn. It's the Quakers' ball on the Lions' 25. Evans, veteran of 33 bombing missions over Europe, passes to Jenkins, and Penn goes ahead 13-7. Evans takes the ball for Penn. It's the old Statue of Liberty play, and it's good. Snyder ticks off 21 yards. Here in the second quarter, Evans again takes to the air. Falcone pulls it down. Penn 20, Columbia 7. Evans hands the ball to Duba, who's off on a 55-yard run to a touchdown. Columbia falls from the ranks of the undefeated as Penn wins 32-7. Army meets Notre Dame. At New York's Yankee Stadium, the U.S. Military Academy's Corps of Cadets marches in. These 2,400 American boys are typical of the 13 million who left their homes, their schools, their jobs to go into World War II. They are typical of the many who gave their lives to achieve victory for us. The debt we owe these young men of America is one we can never repay, but it is our obligation to hold on to the victory they won. They made their permanent investment. We can make ours. Buy victory bonds today and keep on buying. The 75,000 fans see the great undefeated Army team kick off for another battle in their 32-year-old rivalry with undefeated Notre Dame. The Irish return the ball to their own 25-yard line. Angsman carries for Notre Dame, and it's a fumble. Jeremiah of the Cadets recovers the pigskin. With the game just 2 minutes old, Army's Glenn Davis is off on a 26-yard run to score standing up. Army 7, Notre Dame nothing. In the second quarter, West Point's Doc Blanchard smashes through. Army's team, one of the mightiest in football history, can't be stopped. Tucker passes to Glenn Davis. 5 enemy tacklers are between Davis and the Notre Dame goal line. But watch this 175-pound back move to that goal line. He's over for Army touchdown number 2. Third quarter, Notre Dame's Radaman passes to McGurk. The Irish fight to score at least once against the Cadets. Again, Radaman passes. But this time, West Point's Doc Blanchard intercepts, and he's off. Army makes it 16 straight by trouncing Notre Dame 48-0.
At the Washington Navy Yard, 2 special Victory Loan trains are ready to set out on a tour which will cover 17 states. Christening the Navy Special is Mrs. Ted Gamble, wife of the National War Finance Director. Interesting exhibits draw a crowd before the train gets the green light. Not to be outdone, the Army, too, schedules a series of public exhibition trains to boost victory bond purchases. Returned heroes will accompany the trains, demonstrating the latest fighting equipment, much of it never before shown publicly. The original Japanese and German surrender documents and Marshal Goering's jewel-studded baton are part of the show. In Philadelphia, a group of veteran leathernecks will man the Marine Victory Loan Special. The men who struggled ashore onto Pacific beachheads under a murderous hail of enemy bullets in order to assure the victory carry an important message for you on their train.
Maneuvers on the Potomac for the Bantam battle wagons of the Pacific. PT boat show for the Victory Loan campaign. Leading the squadron, Commander John Bulkley, who won the Medal of Honor and everlasting fame in actions immortalized in They Were Expendable. A sky salute from a Navy blimp to the men who made history in the smallest, fastest fighting ships afloat. Hard-hitting PTs, America can be proud of their record. Frontline battlers of the U.S. Navy.
Atomic bomb, the weapon that clinched victory. These pictures could not show the first instant of blinding light. Observers report a massive multicolored cloud boiled up to 8 miles. Now a second camera shows another angle. Knocking observers down 6 miles away, this single bomb, like a portent from the Almighty, thunders its warning against future wars. Now a third camera catches the utter annihilation of what is apparently a steel tower. Watch the right side of the screen. Thus is the new era born, the atomic age, for good or evil, for life or death. Civilization must choose.
New York's Waldorf Astoria, the motion picture industry honors a distinguished associate, Ted Gamble, leader of America's 8 great bond drives. Heading the biggest selling job in history, through his drives, he sold $150 billion worth of bonds to 85 million Americans. To Gamble, War Activities Committee Chairman Schaefer presents a silver chest. A motion picture exhibitor, Gamble speaks of his industry.
As I review the wartime role of motion pictures, I stand in awe at the power pulsing in this great medium. Power for war and power for peace. No more powerful agency for influencing human conduct has ever been devised. Motion pictures are our most numerous and effective ambassadors. The artistry and genius that has made celluloid a weapon of war must turn its power to the creation of weapons of peace. This is not a choice for us. This is a stark injunction to follow the only course open to us. We will have one world or we will have no world. This industry, with its drive and courage, must take on the greatest sales job ever conceived. This industry must channel the greatest of all forms of expression to bring to practical realization the great ideals of brotherhood, of tolerance, of freedom, and of democracy.